The winner of the Nobel Peace Prize has been announced, and it isn't President Donald Trump. The prize has long been coveted by Trump, who claimed during his 2024 presidential campaign that he would resolve the war between Russia and Ukraine in just one day. A handful of leaders, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and U.S. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, have said that Trump was worthy of the award.
I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved, and you should get it.
Trump has been vocal about his desire for the award during both terms, but has been especially vocal about it since taking office a second time in January.
No matter what I do, they won't give it, and I'm not politicking for it.
Only 4 U.S. presidents have been awarded the Peace Prize: Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, Jimmy Carter, and Barack Obama. The Norwegian Nobel Committee, which consists of a 5-member panel appointed by the Norwegian Parliament, votes on the
Nobel Peace Prize for way less than you did, and President Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize for way less.
For doing nothing.
Exactly.
Obama got a prize. He didn't even know what he got. He got elected, and they gave it to Obama for doing absolutely nothing but destroying our country. No, he was not a good president. The worst president was Sleepy Joe Biden, but Obama was not a good president.
Are you going to do something with the
They gave him a prize. How many months after he won the election, then they gave him the Peace Prize, right?
It was right after he was elected.
My election was a much more important election.
Now that you're fixing the situation between Hamas and Israel, are you going to be taking care of the Hezbollah or the Lebanese armed forces to take care of
that? Yeah, we'll be able to do that. That will be. It's a smaller part of the puzzle, but very important part. They have a great new ambassador that I appointed, Michelle, great new ambassador. So yeah, please.
This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates. We base only our decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel.
Congratulations to María Corina Machado and the committee on the decision. But during the past months, U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly said he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and he'd like to have it. He even said that it would be an insult to the United States if he doesn't get it. What does as the chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, think of this, and how has this campaign-like activity by the president and his supporters, domestically and internationally, affected the deliberations and the thinking in the committee?
In the long history of the Nobel Peace Prize, I think this committee has seen any type of campaign, media attention. We receive thousands and thousands of letters every year of people wanting to say what for them leads to peace. This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates, and that room is filled with both courage and integrity. So we base only our decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel.
Again, you have to take account of the ability of human beings to rationalize. Signed a negotiated agreement, and they love negotiated agreements. It doesn't matter what it says. So long as you sign it and you win the Nobel Prize, who cares if a few million people get killed in the aftermath?
What is happening right now in Tigray is unprecedented. There was an article in the National Geographic, of all places, that iconic magazine actually wrote a very chilling piece of what is happening there. And the title of their article was, I never knew hell until I saw it now, right? Referring to what a person said about what they saw in Tigray, right? So this is happening, and this is happening at the behest of somebody who was given the Nobel Peace Prize not too long ago, right? And the Nobel Peace Prize Committee really cannot stay in silence any longer. They cannot come out. They have to come up.
The committee has their their hands are on those kids' blood.
I mean, that is an inevitable conclusion, Kamal, because their action was followed so soon by this devastating war in Tigray, Kamal. So they cannot escape that connection, Kamal. And if they have really any type of decency at this time, is really to disassociate themselves from that institution so that institution can continue to do what Alfred Nobel wanted it to do back in autumn of 1895 when he wrote his will and left his, his wealth to serve humanity in some fashion. But what the Nobel Committee did Peace Committee did in 2019 is not serving humanity.
But what has happening in Tigray is the most deadly war. We complain rightly about what's happening in Ukraine, but what's happened in Ethiopia is really awful. The figures that we have is that between 600,000 and 800,000 people being killed. Can you imagine? And most of them by famine, not fighting, but by famine, cutting humanitarian support, cutting electricity, cutting any kind of public services, and that for months and months. And I remember that this being done by a government which its president or prime minister is a Nobel Prize laureate.
Now, here we are, and the war in Tigray has been raging on for over a year. Does the committee now regret choosing Abiy Ahmed as a Nobel Peace Prize winner?
The committee stands behind the decision made in 2019 of rewarding the Peace Prize to Prime Minister Abiy, and on the basis, on the picture you painted so efficiently in your introduction. Since then, the situation has changed. There is a war in Ethiopia, and the Nobel laureate is very unprecedented participant in that war as a prime minister. And that is very unfortunate that the Peace Prize laureate is participating in war, but we could not foresee this situation, and I would also like to underline that the situation in Ethiopia is very complex and complicated.
Former Congressman Matt Gaetz threw out an interesting idea suggesting that if you were to broker a deal where nuclear inspectors go into both Israel and Iran, that you could win a Nobel Peace Prize, and they might even rename it the Trump Peace Prize. Did you hear those? What do you think of that?
Well, they should give me the Nobel Prize for Rwanda, and if you look the Congo, or you could say Serbia, Kosovo, you could say a lot of them. You could say, I mean, the big one is India and Pakistan. I should have gotten it 4 or 5 times. I should get it for the, I would think the Abraham Accords would be a good one too.
But what do you
They
think
won't
of that
give me a
idea?
Nobel Peace Prize because they only give it to liberals. Doesn't mean a thing. I mean, I'm going to tell you about the Nobel Peace Prize. I'll tell you about that. I made a deal. I saved a country. And I just heard that the head of that country is now getting the Nobel Peace Prize for saving the country. I said, what, did I have something to do with it? Yeah. But you know, that's the way it is. As long as we know, that's all that matters, okay? That's all that matters. I saved a big war. Saved a couple of them.
To be honest, I don't have any clue about the criteria, how the Nobel Committee selects an individual for the prize. So the issue of President Trump must go to the Nobel Prize Committee. I'm not aware how they elect or select someone to provide the prize. And I'm not working for the prize. I'm working, peace is a very critical thing for our region. And if they recognize, and if President Trump complained, it must go to Oslo, not to Ethiopia. Thank you very much.